RWBY's final official product from Rooster Teeth before the company shuts down. Now, I doubt this is the end of RWBY, I'm sure someone will pick it up, but for now at least, the future of what RWBY will be is a bit of a mystery, so all we have left is this weird, hot mess. RWBY Beyond is a show that came and went, and a lot of people never even really understood what it was. See, Rooster Teeth was absolutely horrible at advertising their upcoming shows, something I suspect was a part of the reason their numbers were doing so poorly. So what even is RWBY Beyond? Well, it was advertised as, quote, a storybook animation-styled anthology series will tell untold stories happening in Remnant during Volume 9 and beyond. So I, along with most people, assumed this was going to cover the goings-ons of the characters in Remnant during the time Team RWBY were stuck in the Ever After. That's what it says, right? During Volume 9. Like, Raven, what's she been up to? Apparently she's attached to the Hero Squad again. How did that happen? Team Honor in the Sandstorm. What happened after finding Vacuo? How did meeting Theodore go? Salem, what's her plans with the lamp and the staff? What's her next move? Well, unfortunately, we don't get any of those answers. All RWBY Beyond really gives us is just more questions and cliffhangers, leaving all of those interesting things off screen. Like everything in RWBY, the important and interesting stuff is always off-screen. RWBY Beyond also only has 4 episodes, each one ranging between 3 to 6 minutes in length. The episodes can be split into 2 categories. The ones Carrie wrote, which are boring and ends with obnoxious teases and cliffhangers, and the ones Eddie wrote, which are honestly really sweet conversations, but unfortunately should have been in the show proper, and not trapped in the supplemental material. Because that's the important thing. This is supplemental material. Nothing we've actually gotten from RWBY is truly canon. We've been living in canon adjacent ever since the Justice League movies came out. And I think the thing that hurts the idea of RWBY Beyond the most is the fact that it came out right after the Volume 9 epilogue. I've covered the epilogue in a recent vid, and there's gonna be a link to that in the iCard and in the description, but overall, it's really heavy. It tackles very serious topics like depression, there's a refugee crisis, the tone is overall much more serious. So it's really weird when RWBY Beyond starts up and all 4 episodes are really lighthearted and goofy and silly, and look at that good times we're having.
The Junior Detectives!
The last thing we need is a kingdom of orphans.
It's not our fault we're here.
Being back with my team helps, even though things aren't the same.
Too many people to take care of. Too many emotions.
Seriously, Yang? You brought me to
She came to Vale, and now there's nothing left.
By the way, you promised we would go shopping like weeks ago. When's that happening?
Rumor has it that RWBY will still be working on Volume 10. Carrie's been promising he's been talking with partners for like months now. They insist it's still going to happen and insist they'll still be in charge of it. If that's the case, then RWBY needs to sit down and pull their heads out of the sand. Figure out what you're doing here, because these 2 things can't both exist. Vacuo can't be the overcrowded, depressed, turmoil and hardships, constant grim attacks location we've seen in the epilogue, and also simultaneously be a nice little city where there's plenty of room and the kids can play tag while they Naruto run and go on shopping trips and everything is so fun and cool. Whee! RWBY has suffered from abysmal tone shifts for a long time now, but it's never been quite this atrocious before. I actually wonder if this is a sort of experiment RWBY is putting out there, seeing which one audiences like more, the serious drama direction for the show or going back to the funny lighthearted direction. Personally, if I had to choose, I'd much rather take the fun, lighthearted direction we see here with RWBY Beyond. Mostly because I don't think RWBY has the skills to actually write an engaging, dramatic refugee crisis story. So let's talk about RWBY Beyond's episodes in more detail.
Zooming through the sky, little Einstein.
The junior detectives are stupid and dumb, and I actually hate them. If you don't know what this is, congratulations, you've never had to sit through RWBY Chibi. Inspired by that one moment in Volume 2 when Sun and Neptune did absolutely nothing helpful during the Grim attack.
Nobody move! Junior detectives! We have badges, so you know it's official.
RWBY Chibi was so inspired by this moment of stupidity that they made the junior detectives a reoccurring bit in RWBY Chibi. And I'll admit, I hate them mostly because I think their shenanigans are painfully annoying and repetitive, and I also just hate Neptune with a burning passion. Oh my god, he is the worst character in the whole show. I hate him. But I can also admit that this does work for the tone RWBY Chibi is going for. Chibi is much more childish, cute, no stakes, lighthearted slapstick and gags. It technically works. I understand why people like the junior detectives in RWBY Chibi, but it does not work in any other setting. The rest of the episodes of Beyond are all generally lighthearted too, but the Junior Detectives one really takes it into the deep end and feels genuinely out of place. Like a show actually being made for little children. Two dudes wearing obvious fake mustaches and getting into slapstick shenanigans doesn't really work in a more realistic setting. And RWBY Beyond does go into more dramatic places. In fact, each of the other 3 episodes feature some pretty sincere moments of introspection and growth. So it's a shame that the first episode sets the tone so stupidly goofy. It makes me think I shouldn't take any of the other episodes seriously either. This is also the only episode that actually takes place during Volume 9. Yeah, that selling point of RWBY Beyond covering the stories of characters while the heroes were trapped in Wonderland, actually, it's only this one silly little baby detective morons episode that does that. The other 3 all take place sometime nebulously after the events of Volume 9. And the actual content of the episode is kind of painfully tone-deaf too. Sun and Neptune are recounting them trying to figure out what happened to Team RWBY and Jaune. And they always tack Jaune's name on at the end like he's an afterthought.
I guess the location of Team RWBY and Jaune is still a mystery.
But here's the thing. In RWBY Chibi, the very thing this dumb gimmick comes from, Jaune hangs out with Sun and Neptune a bunch. He and Ren spends lots of time with the junior detectives. So it's weird that now they're acting like he's some forgotten extra. Is this like RWBY Chibi or not? I imagine this is the writers trying to tongue-in-cheek be like, see, we think Jaune is lame too. Because the biggest thing with RWBY Beyond is how every single episode was very obviously written in reaction to criticism from Volume 9. Which is why I will never, ever believe the idea that it's all been planned from the beginning. So anyways, Sun and Neptune go around and apparently are accusing the people who are closest to Team RWBY and Jaune of being the reason they're missing, which, like, rude. Hey, Crow, is it your fault that your beloved nieces might be dead? The episode also establishes this reoccurring thing where the adults are having, like, secret meetings, which wasn't the whole keeping secrets, lives, and half-truths thing the whole problem everyone had with Ozpin? We're just doing this again? Really?
Be the summer maiden?
I already told you, there's no way! Besides, there's no more room on our suspects board. No more new characters.
Ooh, a cliffhanger teaser. Wanna see the Summer Maiden? Too bad. Ha ha ha. We almost showed you something worth a damn, but no. Ha ha ha. Give me money for Volume 10. You can't fund a show based only off of teases. Eventually, people are going to be tired of constantly being baited. You've been dangling carrots on sticks for 10 years. They're starting to get kind of stale. First episode was hands down the worst, but it's surprising that the second episode that focuses on Jaune actually ends up being the best. It shows us Jaune, who's struggling with figuring out himself now that he's aged several decades without his team and has been sucked back into the body of a young adult. So he talks to the one person who can understand the phenomenon of being both far too old and simultaneously far too young. Oscar. Oscar suggests Jaune focuses on some of the positives with his time in the Ever After, and it is a genuinely cute scene. We really establish the friendship between him, Alex, and Lewis. We get some cute world building with them, and we even nostalgia bait you by showing Jaune's Volume 1 team.
Laughter.
This episode is really sweet, and I actually really love the dialogue Jaune has with Oscar, but I really wish this wasn't supplemental material. Interactions like this always feel trapped inside of the side stories of the show. This information could have been in the show proper. Jaune could have told Team RWBY about these things during Volume 9, and getting to see Jaune and Oscar actually talking to each other one-on-one, that never gets to happen. Moments this good should be in the show proper.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Hey, a bunch of people pointed out how Team RWBY just rampaged their way through the Ever After, causing a bunch of mayhem. Oh well, let's just make a whole episode of RWBY Beyond to be like, no. Actually, everyone's doing so much better now. Team RWBY made everything better. Remember how there was like 5 monsters attacking the shopping district filled with defenseless civilians? And Team RWBY and Jaune, who are all trained fighters who literally went to school to learn how to fight monsters, who have all individually fought hundreds more monsters back in Remnant, but here they saw a couple of monsters and all ran like coward babies, and the cat and the literal defenseless civilian fought the monsters instead, while they all ran like cowards. Well, actually, that was a good thing. Everyone's getting along now because they've all banded together to recover from the atrocities that wrecked this area. It's a good thing Team RWBY was here to run away from doing their jobs. Primarily, this episode is just boring. Somewhat travels around and checks out various places we've seen from Volume 9, now seeing what they're like after Team RWBY's visit, ending with a confusingly out-of-character moment with the Red Prince. Like, I guess it can't be that out of character, he's barely been established as a character to begin with, but it does feel kind of weird that the only 2 times we've seen this character, he's been personified completely differently.
Silence! You are in the presence of royalty! That's me, thank you very much.
I sent them away. How could one expect them to be ruled by someone like me?
This is not how it's supposed to go!
You seem familiar.
But I never want to see them again!
Thank you for playing with me, little one. I've learned a lot.
Oh, look, another big teaser. Oh, who came back to the Ever After? Who used Ambrosius's portals to get here? Who was it? Too bad. Ha ha ha. Give me money to find out in Volume 10. Ha ha ha. Cliffhangers. Like, you understand why these cliffhangers piss me off so much, right? I want to see these parts. I want to know who the Summer Maiden is. I want to know who made it back to the Ever After, how, and why. And it infuriates me that the writers are so incompetent that they won't show the audience the parts that they want to see, and instead will use that to bait the audience to continue to beg as if the Greenlight Volume 10 hashtag hasn't been consistently trending for over a year now. They know we want to see these things. That's why they're baiting us with them. Because all they want is to manipulate the fans into begging for the show more, to convince their partners that people really will give them money to see the show. Throw more money at them so we might eventually get to see the things we actually want to see.
Siblings, 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 siblings.
Ah yes, the piece de resistance. RWBY and Yang actually act like sisters for the first time in years. This episode as a whole is fine enough. The dialogue is kind of weirdly clunky, which is surprising given how Eddie's writing is usually much more natural than this. Maybe it's the voice acting, I don't know. The girls jump from topic to topic a lot throughout the episode, including a mini section where RWBY gets to be a super celebrity Jesus figure for a bit. Boy, oh boy, do I hate this! I cannot express how much I don't want to see RWBY's message being personified as this great big hero of the world thing, but I've talked about that at length already in the epilogue review, so I won't repeat myself here. No, the real point of this episode is just because the writers wanted to try and band-aid the problem that they've written the sisters to never actually interact like sisters. This complaint has been around for quite a while now, specifically how Yang is a very bad sister in relation to RWBY, and I think it's insulting that they actually think they can throw this supplemental band-aid onto this several year-long problem and act like everything's hunky-dory. So let me lay out all the times Yang has been a terrible person to her own sister. I could be pedantic and include things like Volume 1, when Yang abandoned RWBY when she was alone and confused, because Yang would rather hang out with her non-existent friends. But like I said, that would be pedantic. This doesn't make her a bad sister, it just makes her seem kind of rude at most. No, actually, Yang's been a great sister for the first half of RWBY's runtime. Her whole motivation after Volume 4 was finding her sister. From Volumes 1 through 5, Yang and RWBY's relationship has been fine. This only really started to be a problem around Volume 6, but especially in Volume 8. And you might notice, this was when they started to set up the Bumblebee stuff more, and in doing so, they made Yang just like never interact with RWBY, because she needs to spend all her time with her future cat girlfriend. The only moment after Volume 6 where Yang and RWBY really seem like sisters again, who really care about each other, is that one scene where Yang tries to comfort RWBY after the Hound's death. And don't get me wrong, this scene is fantastic, and that's what sucks, because it highlights how great Yang and RWBY's interactions should be. Volume 6 isn't terrible, but it is noticeable how much more time Yang spends with Blake, but they're setting up their relationship. You only really notice Yang and RWBY's lack of interaction in hindsight, I say. Volume 7 is when it really kinda starts. Yang and Blake start doing everything exclusively with each other. Now, it's not that Yang is being bad to RWBY or anything, but that's just because they aren't really interacting with each other at all. Building up to Volume 8, where Yang, right off the bat, tells RWBY she's been a bad leader.
We said we'd follow your lead, but things haven't exactly worked out.
This division between the sisters is literally the main reason the teams split up this volume. And Yang's accusatory attitude comes across as super hypocritical. She's mad at RWBY because she decided to keep secrets from Ironwood, but then Yang also turned around and kept secrets from Ironwood. Not only did she keep telling Robin all the information ever a secret from Ironwood, but she also kept that a secret to RWBY and Weiss as well. So what are you being pissy at RWBY for? You've done the same thing she did, if not worse. Then the girls split, and Yang's like, OMG, she's gonna be so mad at me. And Jaune's like, but RWBY's your sister, she'll always forgive you. And Yang says,
yeah, RWBY.
She was thinking about the cat again, more worried about her girlfriend, who isn't even mad at her, than about her sister, who actually was being insulted earlier. And Yang's not alone here. At least we can point out Yang stupidly sacrificed herself to save RWBY. And RWBY's reaction was absolutely nothing. No tears in her eyes. Well, maybe if you pause at the right few frames. Blake can scream and cry and wail, even while still fighting Neo, but RWBY doesn't get to react at all. Why should she care about her sister's death? Volume 9 is really the worst, though. Here comes RWBY, seeing her sister alive. She thought she was probably dead this whole time, and she runs up, and what does her beloved sister say?
Damn it! You weren't supposed to be here.
No hugs, no joy, no relief, no. All she gets is lectured and scolded. Oh, but when the cat glomps her, Yang softly coddles her girlfriend. No, 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 can't say anything stern to the cat. You might startle her. Consistently throughout Volume 9, RWBY is in turmoil and Yang is painfully oblivious. Blake and Weiss are that way too, but our focus for this is specifically to talk about Yang and RWBY's relationship. And for being the girl who supposedly raised RWBY,
if you thought we wouldn't come for you, then you must have forgotten who raised me.
You'd think she'd know her well enough to stop making out with her girlfriend for 10 seconds and realize that RWBY is obviously not thrilled to be given her weapon back. You'd think if she raised this girl, she'd notice that RWBY isn't really doing too well. RWBY finally gets her big breakdown moment where she snaps and yells at everyone, and look at Yang, glaring at RWBY. She has to protect her poor little baby cat girlfriend from her mean sister. Look at how actually angry Yang looks here, because RWBY dares to call them out for prioritizing making out with each other over getting back to Remnant. Here's RWBY, getting ready to drink suicide tea. Fortunately, Yang has come running in and stands there, a mere 4 feet away from her sister. Will she reach out and grab RWBY? Take the tea away from her? Do literally anything? Nope. Yang and the others stand around doing nothing at all. This is why we say Yang is a crappy sister to RWBY. Not only have they barely interacted for the last 4 volumes, but Yang constantly prioritizes Blake over RWBY. And especially all throughout Volume 9, every time she does interact with RWBY, it seems fueled by anger. So yeah, the criticisms that Yang and RWBY barely feel like sisters anymore are pretty valid. And it's really dumb that they think they can make the girls finally interact a little bit in this one supplemental material episode and act like all the pre-existing problems from the last 4 volumes just don't exist anymore. 4 years of Yang prioritizing Blake over RWBY? Well, but they got boba tea. See? The sisters love each other. Don't remember any of those past volumes. Boba! What's worse is the interaction between Yang and RWBY here is really sweet.
Yang,
I understand my part in you feeling like you couldn't talk to anybody about what you were going through.
Yang actually acknowledges how crappy she was in Volume 9, and that's great to see. I don't think any character has ever held themselves accountable of their own poor behavior like this before. But just like I was saying with the Jaune episode, this should be in the real show. Overall, RWBY Beyond is just primarily a waste of time. The comedy is painfully unfunny. It feels super tone-deaf compared to the vibes they've previously established for their Vacuo arc of the story. And the best parts of these 4 episodes are moments that shouldn't be kept in supplemental material. The art style is fine, but it is really noticeable how often they reuse art. Like this background section of Vacuo with this banana building. And like, Yang's face looks a little Chadly in some shots in the 4th episode. And Somewhat's color palette is completely different too. But overall, it's pleasant to look at. I don't know, I can kinda guess why they didn't bother advertising this one very much. It's a nothing burger. There's really nothing here. RWBY Beyond only exists to remind people that RWBY exists, because there was nothing airing 1 year after Volume 9 released. Volume 10 wasn't funded yet, so they made RWBY Beyond to bait people into being interested and pleading for it to be made. As far as supplemental stories go, none of this is really what I wanted to see. I liked seeing Yang and RWBY actually being sisters for once, and I like seeing Jaune bonding with Oscar and the fallout of his age-related predicament, but these things should really not be kept in only supplemental material. And the other 2 stories are fine, I guess, but these are just not the characters I wanted to get an update on. What's Salem's plans now that she has the staff? We got to see the junior detectives, but why didn't we also get to see Sage and Scarlet with them? How did Raven team up with the adults again? We still haven't seen Maria or Pietro since Volume 8, Episode 5. Freaking half of the actual main characters aren't here at all. In the end, RWBY Beyond is just an attempted last gasp of relevance by a dying company.
Alright, let's tell each other a secret about ourselves. I'm gonna go first. I hate you.
If I could turn back time.
Unicorns, what's your favorite food?
Children.
Oh.
Would you guys be there for me if I was going through something?
No.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
I hope you reach out to me so I can ignore you.
I can't wait to go to your funeral knowing that I could have changed that outcome.
I was just asking if you would be there for me.
Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, The Watcher, Omega Fighter, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Gino, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Alpha 99, and Hoodie Angel. What did you think of RWBY Beyond? Like, I really didn't like it. Like, as far as supplemental stories go, it feels like so not important. Like, I shouldn't be this riled up about it, but so many of the things about it just annoyed me. So what did you think? I'm sure someone out there liked it. You know, if you did, why? I would love to know why. Any and all thoughts and opinions about RWBY Beyond and your ideas about the future of what RWBY might be, I would love to see them in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.